Senator Gold, in last fall's election campaign, your Trudeau government promised they would cap the carbon tax at $50 a tonne in 2022. And in February, you repeated that promise here, stating, quote, "The government, I've been advised, remains committed to that pricing plan with a maximum $50 per tonne from the year 2022 onwards," quote. Now, the Trudeau government has revealed they will hike the carbon tax by 240% to a whopping $170 per tonne by 2030. To dodge parliamentary accountability, Prime Minister Trudeau announced this right after the House of Commons adjourned last week. Another massive broken Liberal promise delivered just in time for Christmas. How can Canadians trust your government when it continually betrays them?
Senator Gold.
Senator, thank you for your question. I think the answer to the question is that Canadians can trust this government to deliver on its promise to be serious about fighting climate change. This government's announcement builds on the pan-Canadian framework on clean growth and climate change. It puts real meat on the bones, if you'll allow that expression, to reach its 2030 Paris targets and eventually get to a net zero economy by 2050, which is a goal that many leaders and citizens support. The carbon tax indeed will increase significantly by $15 per tonne each year until it reaches $170 per tonne by 2030. The plan also spends $15 billion in greenhouse gas reduction measures. Importantly, as I mentioned in this chamber, though, when and as the carbon tax increases, Canadians will be receiving quarterly rebates estimated to, in many, many cases and in many provinces, make Canadians better off in their pockets than they would be. But this is a concrete example of how Canada will move ahead to remain and become even more competitive in a world that is increasingly focused on new technological and greener solutions.
Senator Batters.
Senator Gold, Western Canadians have had a terrible year. Right after a devastating oil downturn, exacerbated by your Trudeau government's anti-energy policies, a pandemic and economic crisis hit. A huge number of Westerners have lost their jobs and are struggling just to make ends meet. A skyrocketing carbon tax will drive up the cost of everything, from gas to groceries, from home heating to the cost of flights. For farmers in my province of Saskatchewan, an increased carbon tax will hike their cost of doing business because it will cost more to dry grain and carry their agricultural products to market. Meanwhile, increased trucking prices also mean higher prices for consumer products, and farmers are squeezed at both ends. Senator Gold, on Monday you said, quote, "There will be a steady increase in the carbon tax until we reach our targets." What is your target? Sticking it to the West?
Senator Gold.
No, thank you for your question, Senator. And we all know, and the government knows as well, that it's been a difficult year for all Canadians, but especially those, certainly those in the agricultural sector. And I think you're right to point out the challenges that grain farmers have experienced and will continue to experience because of the ways they are and the cost of drying grain, as you correctly pointed out, and the government's aware of this. But this is not a question of sticking it to the West. This is a question, in fact, on the contrary, of supporting industries in the West and everywhere else to transition as many innovative companies in Alberta and in your province and across this country aspire to do. And with regard to the West, and notwithstanding the magnitude of the increase in carbon taxes, again, an approach supported by economists around the world, conservative economists and more progressive economists alike. It is estimated that by the time 2030 rolls around, which is part of the way towards the internationally set 2050 targets, a family of four in Alberta would probably get about $3,240,000 in rebates. So this is designed to help those families cushion whatever increases, and there will be increases in prices at the pump.